Good evening. Thank you all so much for being here. It's always a thrill to see such an audience turn up for poetry in Tucson, and especially to turn up for our three poets tonight and celebrating this new exhibit, The Place Where Clouds Are Formed. My name is Julie Swarstad Johnson, and I'm the archivist and outreach librarian here, and I'm grateful to welcome you. It's a privilege to present this exhibit in collaboration with the Center for Creative Photography. And we're honored to celebrate the exhibit's opening tonight with this reading by Suk-Chubak Fulwilder, Lee Ortega, and Ofelia Zepeda. Quickly, before I introduce the project and our readers, just a couple events coming up this month to tell you about. Brenda Lozano was set to read on April 11th, which was a week from tonight. That's been postponed to August 29th. So you get a week off, but come back in August. The Tucson Poetry Festival is next weekend, August 13th and 14th. There's a free reading on Saturday the 13th, 7 p.m. at the Temple of Music and Art with Victoria Chang, Ray Durand, Gabrielle Dozal, who's here tonight, and Wyatt Welch. And you can find more information at TucsonPoetryFest.org. In 2 weeks, we will have a reading on April 18th. You can come at 7 p.m. to hear Mexican poet Natalia Toledo and her translator Claire Sullivan. On Saturday, April 20th, our very fun Kids Create event returns. So if you have kids 10 or younger in your life, bring them here from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for poetry events. On Tuesday, April 23rd at 5 p.m., please join us to celebrate the completion of 6 murals along Speedway. I don't know if you've noticed that there are new murals going in, but they're poetry themed. So to celebrate that at 5 p.m. on that Tuesday, we will be having an ice cream social. Wow, I'm excited. And then also there will be a self-paced walking or rolling tour of the murals. Details are online. Related to this exhibit, you're invited to continue celebrating The Place Where Clouds Are Formed this Saturday, so 2 days from now, April 6th, at the Center for Creative Photography. We'll have an artist panel from 10 to 11:30 p.m. in the CCP auditorium, and you'll hear from our 3 readers tonight, plus artist Monica Martinez-Diaz. Following the panel, there'll be a community celebration on the patio outside of the CCP with live music by DJ Miss Godin, a poetry station with Logan Phillips, who's also here somewhere, and an art making station with David Contreras. The CCP portion of the exhibit officially opens that day, Saturday, so it's the perfect time to go check it out. And it's absolutely beautiful in that space. Finally, if you didn't get to see the exhibit here, which is over in the library, it's in the lobby and then back behind the stacks, we are going to reopen the building after the reading tonight just for about half an hour. So you're welcome if you didn't see it to go across the way and check it out. You also can come back anytime that we're open. So we hope you'll spend time with this beautiful exhibit. So as we begin tonight with all of those announcements over, we respectfully acknowledge that the University of Arizona, including the Poetry Center and the Center for Creative Photography, is on the land and territories of Indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tucson being home to the O'odham and the Yaqui. Committed to diversity and inclusion, the university strives to build sustainable relationships with sovereign Native nations and Indigenous communities through education offerings, partnerships, and community service. The Place Where Clouds Are Formed is a dynamic collective of artists working in photography, poetry, paper sculpture, and photography-based installation, among just a few. There are even more than that. Their work considers spirituality, migration, and the policies that have disrupted the traditional lands of the Tohono O'odham. The project aims to reorient the narrative away from geopolitical concerns and towards the genealogical stories and religious and cultural traditions of the people who live and migrate here. The project began in 2018 as a collaboration between Tohono O'odham poet and Regents Professor Ofelia Zepeda, photographer Gareth Smith, who's also here tonight, and writer, translator, and researcher Martine Zakari, who's also here tonight. From their initial pairing of Dr. Zepeda's poem with Smith's documentary photography, this project keeps expanding to include new voices across 4 prior exhibitions. So this is the 5th installation of this, and it keeps changing every time. In this 5th iteration of the project, we're grateful to present work by the founding trio, plus Lee Ortega, Suk-Chubak Fulwilder, Monica Martinez-Diaz, and Terrell Dew Johnson in collaboration with Chris Lash and Alice Wilsey. There's so many people to thank for this exhibit, but the first that I want to say is thank you to the artists. We're truly honored to be able to show your work in this space. Thank you, Gareth, Martine, and Ofelia, for all of the work that you've done over many years to coordinate this. And special thanks go to my co-curators for this exhibit, Denise Brito from the Center for Creative Photography. She's the Learning and Engagement Manager and is right in front of me. And then also Jenna S. Green from the CCP. She's a graduate assistant, and she's somewhere in the audience as well. The Place Where Clouds Are Formed wishes to thank the University of Arizona Confluence Center Fronteridades project, which is made possible through a grant from the Mellon Foundation. Thank you finally to the Poetry Center staff, and especially Paula Valenzuela, who's somewhere, and Tyler Meyer for your support of this reading. So here's the format for tonight. I'll briefly introduce each poet just before they come up, and they'll go in this order. So we'll hear first from Ofelia Zepeda, second from Suk-Chubak Fulwilder, and then last from Lee Ortega. So our first poet tonight then is Dr. Ofelia Zepeda, who is an O'odham poet and Regents Professor of Linguistics here at the University of Arizona. She is also the founding director of the American Indian Language Development Institute. She's a founding collaborator of The Place Where Clouds Are Formed, and the project draws its title from her 2008 collection, Where Clouds Are Formed. Please join me in welcoming Ofelia Zepeda.
Mabakaiji damat danakok ya tamapai ya haichum mjön gap amjid ida matabaju kuma pomchu khagi mati damabaju banyanya motsis ku kaichu ida mati abai itawum kabaju ida anyuke amjid ami oid ida mas chipkan entumu mo amom wusi jamu hajan. And the So first of all, just my appreciation to, of course, my collaborators and all of their, wonderful ideas and contributions to this overall project, and enabling me actually to write about this area that the project started with. The landscape of the Donna O'odham, in particular the landscape and the people along the international border. So, and of course, my thanks to all of you for being here this evening. And of course, I want to give a special thanks to many of my colleagues who were at a conference all day today, because I saw some of them in the audience. So you had a long day, but I'm very appreciative that they came over to the reading. So the pieces I want to share with you are ones that I wrote that largely came from ideas and themes that Gareth photographed when he first went to that region on the O'odham homeland, but on the Sonora side. And in a way, it was a good thing that he started on the Sonora side, because that's where I'm from. My parents, both my parents and all their people before them, that's their homeland, and their traditional villages on that side. And that's exactly where Gareth went, was to Kitawak, which is my mother's home and her parents' home. And so it meant a lot to me to see the images that he captured. And then also other parts of the border, the villages there, the O'odham villages, and I told them stories, and a lot of it was from my early childhood, and then a little bit older, I remember going to those places and spending summers there with my mother's mother, our grandmother, and we lived with her there as young people. So it was easy to write about that region. The other part, of course, is not the part that all of them are so much a part of, but it's the fact that we have other people that come through that desert and that landscape. And so, of course, here, those of us that live here are very much aware of it in different ways, and especially the O'odham who live where they live, you know, so having that border cutting through the homeland. And so, you know, there's mixed feelings about the whole situation. And anyway, so I reflected on all of that as well. And so I want to start with some pieces about the people that come through. And my point seems to always be that if you walk through the desert, you have to know how to walk through a desert. You know, you just can't pick up and decide to walk through a desert. And so anyway, so I wrote sort of from the viewpoint of the desert in some cases. So the first one is called Not the Intent of This Desert. Each tiny blade of creosote leaf has a memory of the people that have come through. The sand absorbs the tears, nightmares, sorrows of the walkers. It muffles their cries. No one can hear them. This was never the intent of this desert. And of course, thinking of the people that come through, because we know it all too well. Most of it, you know, we see in our news media, and especially in the summer, as the summer is coming up again. And this one is called Lessons for Walking the Desert. And I numbered them, not that it makes any difference, but anyway, number 1, begin early in the morning before the sun rises, but this means knowing your route, and you don't. Number 2, walk until about mid-morning when the heat rises, then stop. But you are in a hurry and you can't stop. Number 3, find shade under a mesquite tree, a big cactus, a large bush. But you must keep moving, and only longingly looking at shade, you must pass up. Number 4, sit or lie down, restore your energy. But you can't spare the time, though your entire being aches to rest. Number 5, drink water, eat a little, don't make yourself sick with too much. But you don't have water or food. You ran out on the second day. The desert absorbs lost people. This was never the intent of this desert. And as I mentioned, the images that Gareth first showed me were these communities that I knew, that I spent, you know, my childhood at. And of course, it was my mother's home, and so it was a very strong connection to these places. And as many of you know, all of them have been Catholic for a long, long time. And so the Catholic Church is very, very important. It's a central place for communities. And so we all know churches very well. We know the inside of the churches and the outside, and they're important markers for all of us out there. And so Gareth took pictures of some churches that had been abandoned. And there's one church that I knew very well because we used to go there for a pilgrimage for the St. Francis feast day in October. And anyway, it was that particular village, and it had been abandoned largely due to cartels and things like that. All of them left and went to another village. Anyway, so it was very sad to see those images. I knew about that village, that it had been abandoned, but it was very striking to see the images of an abandoned village, and certainly an abandoned church. And anyway, so I wrote some pieces about the church there, and sort of how we saw and interacted with being Catholic there. And the one that struck me is that, or brought memories back, is the way all of them deal with saints. A lot of, especially Mexican culture, they kiss saints, and all of them, they don't kiss the saint, they inhale it, they breathe it in. And so I wrote a little piece about that, the inhaling. Inhaling in all of them is hohowak, to sort of suck in air. Hohowak santo. Ihohowak gulkadak, ihohowak apadak. Abadarchum ibui ida doskugachkamatuakak. Inhale the power of the saint. Inhale the strength. Inhale the goodness. With these small breaths, health and goodness will be your life. And that's what they say. Anyway, so very specifically about the one church that was abandoned, I just wrote a couple of lines about it. And in all of them, it says Chop, which is the word for church. Chop. Amay matamapatchak Chop. Amashka kaitak o atama hoi kaitak. The church. The church is desecrated, but in the debris, the prayers of the people still linger. And then finally, one of the images Gareth has, and it's in here, an image of two statues of St. Francis, two of them next to each other, which is very odd to have two of them in one place. But it's a striking image. And so I wrote about that one as well. And it's just called Gok San Francisco. Gokop wag apadak, gokop wag hoigadak, gokop wag santo himadak machik, gokop wag shoigdak, kamachkam hawuhajit. No gokom haichugak haichupatadak amay. No idam gok santo. Shasagil. The two St. Francis. There is twice the goodness, there is twice the prayer, there is twice the holiness of saints, there is twice the sorrow for the hardship of the people. Is there twice the sin here? Is there twice the evil here? Is two saints enough to cleanse? So, hopefully it is enough. And then, of course, you'll see the images. Some are here and some are over at the center of children who I think were initially Garrett's guides around some of the villages. And so he photographs the children at play. And then, of course, as they helped navigate him around the villages. And so two of my favorite images that he has, and you can see them. The first one is called Climbing the Cross. And these two boys, 3 or 4 boys sitting up on the arms of a cross that, it sits in a beautiful landscape actually. And I just call it Climbing the Cross. They sit in the arms. Does their mother know they do this as a game? They perch up there in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. They sit with no fear of falling. They are safe in the arms of the cross, safe in the prayers that always begin with, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. So anyway, you'll see that image. It's a beautiful image. Then this one also is from the series and one of Garrett's images. Again, children. And again, it was a favorite image that I really, sort of responded to. And I saw the village, the home, that she was playing in front of. And, that is the lifestyle that I knew, the way that the village is set up. So, and the piece is called The Little Girl in the Pink High-Top Sneakers. And she was wearing sneakers. The little girl in a flowery party dress. She appears out of place in the poverty of an autumn village. Her party dress says she is happy and enjoying her time here. Never mind the outdoor kitchen made of worn bricks. Never mind the dirt roads that cut one way and then another, oblivious to the rules of roads. Follow them, not knowing which is the main road and to what destination they lead. Like the roads, the lives of these children in the village meander. Their origins are vague, their destinations even more so. Do these children know that they are descendants of holy people? Holy people who knew how to sing for rain and clouds, people who always were in tune with the moisture of the ocean. Do they know their ancestors could call the wind and lightning and knew how to cleanse the earth? Do they know? They ride their bikes over a desert that for years was cared for by their holy ancestors. They must know, otherwise the little girl would not be out playing in a flowery party dress and glittery high-top sneakers. So, but anyway, so those are some of the pieces from that, like I said, were that I responded to from Garrett's photograph, and many of them are set up as part of the photographic exhibit, both here and also at the Center for Creative Photography. Finally, I just want to close with a poem from the book Where Clouds Are Formed. And this one too has to do with people crossing and not knowing how to cross a desert. And so it's sort of a teaching book. So you might want to, a teaching poem, so you might want to pay attention. It is called Lost Prayers. Passing below the sacred peak, here prayers signified by rosary beads are futile. Calling on the Virgin Mary is useless. Instead, one must know the language of the land. One must know the balance of the desert. One must know how to pray so that all elements of nature will fall into rhythm. These are the kinds of prayers that will work. Once uttered, the sacred mountains respond with coolness, with gifts of wetness, and gifts of civility of climate. Empty plastic bottles are collected from the desert floor, replaced with ones filled with water. In another location, blue flags are raised in the desert, signaling the location of water, signaling a chance for survival. Flags recognized by heat-demented minds. The Adam roamed the desert with precarious steps, keeping an eye on the horizon, moving, seemingly becoming a part of the heat and the dryness of their landscape. They walk knowing the heat and aridity of their namesake place, never experiencing a mirage of running water, swaying palms at a cooling oasis, never needing plastic bottles, flags to guide them to water places. They knew the trails leading to water. They knew the natural water tanks, always with names like Hoteshonwo'o, rock ponds. These rock ponds later labeled as tinahas on the maps. Labeled, the rock ponds offer no water sanctuary for those crossing the desert unprepared. Ironically, it may have been their distant ancestors who put these water place names on the maps. Instead, in the heat of the desert, They rely on rosary beads and calling on the Virgin Mary. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ofelia. Next, we'll welcome Suk-Chubak Fulwilder. She is Akimal Odom, Halchidom Pipash, Tlingit, Aliot, and Pomo from the Salt River community. She is a poet, musician, and photographer, and you can see both her poetry and her photography in the exhibit. And she began working with film photography in her 20s at Scottsdale Community College. After graduating in 2007, she started experimenting with digital photography, and you'll see a photograph along those lines here at the Poetry Center. Suk approaches art as a means of survival and visibility. Please join me in welcoming Suk-Chubak Fulwilder.
Thank you. Aniel Chugig Suk-Chubak Fulwilder. My name means warm cloud in the O'odham language, which is pretty cool considering the name of the project. I wouldn't have known about this project if it wasn't for a friend of mine, Rachel Espinosa, who's actually a local Tucson artist. She's also O'odham as well. And she told me about this a while back, and I submitted and happened to be here today, so I'm really thankful. I'm here with my family, my kids. I think 2 of my daughters are in the back. Just want to follow up, with what you were saying, about the church and just my experience as an O'odham, as a native. Like we're living in 2 worlds, and it's kind of hard to figure out who you are sometimes. And a lot of our youth are trying to hold on, to themselves, their identity and their souls. Like there's a lot going on in our communities. We have, young people committing suicide and, dying. And, a lot of us grew up like that. That's kind of how I grew up, was just always going to funerals all the time. And it's just a constant in our communities. So, that's how I started writing, was just basically writing my feelings out. And I look back at my poems, because I do have some of my poems from way back then. A lot of them are real dark and, kind of like really depressing and stuff. But, if you don't get it out, you don't get it off your chest, it's going to eat away at you. So that's what I try to do. And as far as like what you're saying about the church, I grew up traditional with my father, just being taught the O'odham hymn dog, our way of life and our culture. And, it was always like, I guess, conflicting to me because, a lot of our relatives, even my grandparents, grew up in the church, were married in the church. And, I was taught the opposite. We don't go to church and stuff like that. And I lost my son last year. Actually, it was 2022, October 30th, 2022. He committed suicide. His name was Joaquin Zuniga. But losing him and having so many people send prayers for our family, not everybody was traditional. A lot of people went to church and, they pray to who they pray to, and when you're receiving prayers, it's like, it's kind of hard to be like, oh no, don't pray for me because you're praying to Jesus or whatever, but I appreciated that, that people actually took the time to like pray for our family and I'll try to uplift us and bring us food, to make sure that we had something to eat. And we had a lot of singers come and sing and dance, and, it meant a lot to our family. And, when our family was going through some stuff, we had to meet up with some medicine people. And they were O'odham, also from Tono. And as they're praying, they're doing traditional and they have, their ways. But they also were praying, to Jesus Christ and stuff like that, which, was kind of weird. But at the same time, it's like, it was coming from, a good place, and it was really needed. So I guess it's like it's conflicting for us as Native people, you know, living basically in two worlds and going through what we go through every day. So, you know, I think that's one of the things that kind of divides our people is that, you know, you go to this church or you're going traditional or like we can't come together, but in the end we always do come together. You know, somebody passes away or somebody's getting married or whatever, we always have to put all that stuff aside. And right now I feel like, you know, it's more important than ever to unite no matter what our differences are. So I just wanted to thank you for sharing what you shared and just going off of that. But I'm going to go ahead and read some poems. This one's untitled, but I leave the world without a trace. I'm gone, traveled the lighted tunnels into space. Gotta leave this place. I doubt you'll even remember my face. Time after time I've been replaced. Now I gotta make my escape. Better late than never, I face my fate. I walk the sky, I walk the clouds. Nothing to stop me. The pain of my life couldn't drop me. Pulling your gun quick, you better pop me. The devil chasing, but he still ain't got me. Shout out to the ones who forgot me. They're the ones who really taught me how strong I can be. They rather have me believe that I'm tarnished and weak. I see them cringe as I begin to speak. But life's never been more clear. I survived off of their fear. Why else am I here? Don't want nobody to cry. Too many of my people died before their time. Or was it? Hate my life, then I love it. Nope, nobody does it better than me. I'm asking, can you see me? Twisted plot in the end. Will they laugh or tell stories about me? Guess y'all gotta wait and see with your hazy memory. Maybe you'll have them believe I was lost, yet I was really free. Or maybe I was on top of the world and nobody could get me down. Our circle remains round, losing pieces all my life, they're finally found. Nobody can take that away from me. Stories are stories. Nobody was there when I was at my lowest, so was I really low? I'm unstoppable, just like the rivers that flow. Just know I was here and I left a mark, and that was enough. Managed to live even when it was rough, my heart a little scuffed. But it still beats. Spirit of a warrior, we are born and rise to the sun, awake to the sun and journey to the sun in the end, which isn't an end, just a new beginning. Until the next rendezvous, carry your heart when it falls. Don't leave it behind, because you'll need it. So this other poem is just something that I experienced as a young mom. You know, going through domestic violence. I was shot when I was pregnant with my firstborn. But, you know, luckily we both survived that night. This was back in March 20th, 2000. And I'm thankful every day, you know, that we're still able to walk the earth. Every year when that time would come up, it kind of was like depressing, or I didn't know like what was wrong. I just kind of felt down. And sometimes I didn't even realize that it was that same day. But the past few years, like doing a lot of healing, I feel like now I look at it as our survival date. You know, that's the day that we were chosen to still be here. And if it wasn't for that, you know, I wouldn't have had my other 4 children as well. So this one's called That Night I Prayed to the Moon. I called out to the medicine woman. Did she hear me across the desert from Salt River to Cells? I was a young woman from the res, a child really, 19 years old, around the sun, carrying my firstborn, heart twisted in knots, stomach turning as the bullet was released and I was shot. Where is the blood? Why can't I feel my arm? How could someone do me so much harm? I could only hear my heartbeat while we hauled ass down the street like a cinematic scene. This wasn't part of my dreams. Damn that fucking devil and his schemes. Came for me on many occasions, bruises and abrasions, chipping away at my soul since I was about 5 years old. That's when he first came for me, in the form of family. I was all alone with secrets to tell, the voices in my head telling me not to yell. Inside I wanted to scream. The rage turned to flames from holding it all in. For years and years I held shame. Was I to blame? Who sent these people to hurt me? Was I to blame? Why was I the target? Pulling knives out my back seemed to be the norm. My heart withered and worn, so young with the heart so old. These battles continue in my head. Will I live to see the day? That's my goal. To beat every demon until they bleed. They'll never feel the need to feed. I wish I could save you all, but unfortunately the world is full of devils. They take as they please. To them we are disposable. Murdered and missing women in all 4 directions. When will that damn devil learn his lesson? Our fire grows, the prayers rise, madness in my eyes as I unveil the skies. I see beauty, I see peace, time to forgive and time to release, but that's the hard part. Got used to walking around with a broken heart. I stand for all the spirits who cry, the ones who were never found, chaos in my eye, and I can't lie. Nightmares become reality more often than not. Telling my truth through poetry, thought I would give it a shot. My voice cracks as they mock the woman I am, who I became, only because they'll never be able to water down my flame. I give you a second to close your eyes and dream. What will be your reality? And then I have one on my phone that I wrote for my son. I have a photo of him in there in the art gallery, so you know who I'm talking about. But I took a vow, since he passed away, to basically not let opportunities pass me by anymore. Because, going through a lot in my younger years, in my 20s and 30s, like I was going through a lot and going through depression. It was kind of hard for me to step out of that, that dark spot. And I probably wouldn't even be here today, saying what I'm saying or reading these poems to you. But I just know that there's a lot of young people that are hurting, even our elders and adults that are going through things right now, and it's really hard, to hold on. But, I just wanted to set an example for my children, to let them know, like, it's okay to step out of your comfort zone, and it's okay to speak up. It's okay to, express yourself. Because for a long time, these were, poems that I kept to myself. I didn't share them with people. So this is for my son. As I sit with the smoke, this medicine and prayer, I think of you. I trace your footsteps in this life all the way back to the ancestors. Our spirit roams the mountains, the rivers, the sky. Your heartbeat still heard like a wave of wind across the land. Your wounds no longer exist. Your cry and now echoes of laughter among the old ones. The Kukurt you had yet to meet have welcomed you. Tales of the past spoken in our autumn tongue. You now understand and speak the language. Your hair that you had been trying to grow now flows long and thick. Your strength is a force. We can feel it from the spirit realm to where I sit writing this poem in your honor. I will speak your name. Domkacham Hoport, Joaquin, my son, you are okay now, at peace. With a smile, with the destination we didn't understand at first. Maybe I'll never know the details, but one day you'll tell me of your journey and I'll tell you about mine. Until we meet again, remember we love you. We will speak your name often and make sure no one forgets you. I'll just read one more. No, we won't run away. We are here to stay. For my people, I pray we make it through another day. Times are rough. Nothing but respect and love. You are the stars up above. No matter where you are, we will go far. Just know who you are. Warriors, warriors, stand your ground. The devil comes around. The children were never found. We were taught don't make a sound, but you see, times have changed. I know it seems a little strange, but I want to hear your voice, so speak up loud. I'll go first. My name is Warm Cloud. Show them what we're about. Hit them hard when the lights go out. The ancestors scream and shout. I want to see you shine. Let me get into your mind. Wish we could go back in time. When them pilgrims first got out of line. We want our children free. Don't play with me. I've taken all I can. I'm making a stand. We're fighting for the land. Mother Earth's life is at stake. They realize that they made a mistake. They take and they take. Our culture they imitate. Stand up. Together we will rise. Don't believe them lies. We're aiming for the sky. Spread them wings and fly high. We cannot let them win. Where do we begin? We got to unite. We are here for the fight. Let your light shine. No, we won't run away. We are here to stay. For my people, I pray. We make it through another day. Which way do we go? Just gonna let it all flow. Inquiring minds want to know just who you are. Warrior, warrior, I'm talking to you. Think of what you've been through, and yet you stand before us. Creator, please set us free. Free to be you and free to be me. Come together in unity. Please find a way to make it through another day. Let your light shine. Follow your heart and I'll follow mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suk. So our final reader tonight is Amber Lee Ortega. Amber is a member of the Tohono O'odham Nation and a descendant of Hiached O'odham. A spoken word poet, photographer, and student of the Sonoran Desert, Amber's work reflects the loss, struggle, and effort to reconnect with the lands sacred to Hiached O'odham and the issues concerning the loss of life. What remains from colonization of O'odham Javed are sounds, memories, and the speaking silent moments. Please welcome Amber Lee Ortega.
All right, Skakodinik, Ani Abjugig, Amber Ortega, Ani Geneva 1, Ani Og, Melbourne Ortega Bat, Ani Ma'amjad, Sup Oitak, and pretty much what that means is my name is Amber Ortega, my mother is Geneva 1, and my father is the late Melbourne Ortega, and I come from the village of Coldfields. And I'll be sharing 3 pieces I wrote, and it's a little different than what I'm used to sharing. I do a lot of spoken word poetry, and my themes were influenced by my struggle with religion and also my struggle to identify myself as an O'odham. But I can say, that I identify as an O'odham. I'm O'odham. I'm Tohono O'odham. I'm Hiached O'odham. I'm Akamel O'odham. I'm O'odham. And so this work is not just inspired by being O'odham, but also being connected and being in those places that we've been removed from. If a lot of you are unaware of this, so Hiached O'odham, so the reason I acknowledge myself as being a descendant of Hiached O'odham is because currently we are unfederally recognized. Tohono O'odham Nation is federally recognized. Therefore, there's the nation and the registration and the acknowledgement of my enrollment as a tribal member under the Tohono O'odham Nation. But I mention that because Hiached O'odham were considered extinct. Hiached O'odham have a history of being forcibly removed and displaced from our lands. And those lands, those lands are missed by us. Those lands we have, sought connection with, legal battles for acknowledgement, for access to sacred sites. And, being with these sites, being with my relatives, I can say I can feel the loss, a much greater loss, but it now reflects into this new work. And so the first one I will share is called, I call it Heart of the Desert. And in O'odham, that's Tohono Ipatak. So I'll be going back and forth with English and O'odham. This is Tohono Ipatak. I come from a people whose hearts are grown from the land. Banha amjad him humach gam magaha ipatak ab jove amja wa anyim. Each plant, each fruit, each bloom, each saguaro rib, each seed was haichu wug anyik, was haichu ibatak, was haichu bahitach, was haichu hiosik, was gawapai, was gaij. I come from a people who always carry a piece of home in their ipatak. Our ipatak is our heart. Ban amjad him gahumach gamochum hukid amchuk gaiki ga ipataki. I come from a people who carry burdens and beauty. Ban ha amjad him gahimach gamoga juichig guch skug haichu mato. I come from a people whose hearts bleed for what we love. Ban ha amjad him gahumach gamoga ipatak ha ipatak sitachu hagimat haichu sisihohitak sehohit. I come from ipatak people. Ban ha amjad him ga ipatak homachkam. I come from a people who literally have been made to live from beneath to above with all elements. Homachkam matam si hawu matam akikat imhu wucho in hu tamha wum gawuz haichu. Like the roots and the thorns of each hashan, habmasama gatach chehoi abwuz gahahashan an. Like the seeds soaked in the soil of a heart that lives for the soil and the sound of land. Habmasma maga Ka'ima kach juwe, ibatak ima gajuwe, gatach kacha, ka'itak wuhijetoa. Beneath clouds, surviving seasons, juwich wucho ia akia haichuk, surviving seasons to bloom, ito ibayo ka'ahayo. For each saguaro rib was gawapia, each heart was kaipatak, each fruit was kabaitach. Through our ipatak we live, the ibaitach amje achdoi tai. Because of our ipatak we survive, the ipatak amju ach aiakai haichuk. I come from Tahano ipatak, pan amje kam Tahano ipatak. Okay, this next piece is inspired by the very creature that we, as farmers, we cannot escape. As autumn, we will never escape. And as humanity, we will always be blessed by their abundance. And that is the tatan. And if those of you unfamiliar with autumn, it's ants. All right, I call this Tatan Hurinik Tachu, Ant Evening Dream. And it's one of the photos featured with the ants, keeping us company throughout the day. Day travelers, the Oichhihimtam, workers of day, evening, and travelers of night. Chipkatam, the Oich Hurinik Hihimtam, Juhik Oich. From beneath the land to the surface of space beyond the sun, wucho amjikach in hu juvitam kach wushko imhu ipaichka ta. Each step, each step, each step, each step taken for a purpose. Was ikaipa, amhaichu wuhichu, amhabi jun him. Always connecting to the sky and the land and all beneath. Jum huget apiku inyok atam kachim wumcha jovekcha was haichu mat amhab juik wuchu. Clouds and land, jowik kachubit, travelers of the day, the hihimtam. Workers beneath the sky, tamkachim wucho, chipkantam, and ancestors keep our dreams alive. Tatan, hikoi hukam amnit mata apa I huhimat katatachan, tatatachu. It brings, these emotions up. One of my mentors who is not here, I'll see him tomorrow. He really has inspired me, and he tells me farmers don't take vacations, and that's how this was inspired. The discipline, the lectures, and then also my mentors, redirecting me and reminding me, of the things I need to connect and what I'm living for, and we connect so much in our stories to the Tatan. We have songs, and there's a beautiful song. There's so many beautiful songs, and unfortunately, I'm not here to share songs, or fortunately. But the last poem I have is, I also get emotional with this one. So like I said, we're Hiachiratam. I'm Hiachiratam. Those of us that come from the west end of the Tohono O'odham Nation, a lot of us are Hiachiratam, and from the Aho area, we are aware of every mountain and the water and the land and even the places of wood. Our elders, they can speak to, it might just be a piece of debris. It might be a stack of wood. It could be, anything in that area, but our ancestors are there. And our elders can tell us, what it is. And I call this one What Remains. What Remains, Achu what we is, sorry. This is what remains. Ida we is getawak che hug we is taka getawak che hug ami wo ilyok mant hoja we is ta hodenik wom ta I chika chawag I wamik was ka I hubama I hukaj ida I we is ka kana kacha chageta toidak matam inato nyan hoikaj ma apkoi inyagwam ka hoi ida what is this is what remains. This is what remains of our past with no presence of people. Ida what is ab hukihu amja mapi hu hahamachkam, where you see home, mountain and wood, mant hukit anyu nyu itad kat ki tuwa kacha hook. Know that these are our hidden dreams. Smakat mahugam what Satag tachu Bagika asi nye itad ma ihawum kaka antasi nyutad jam hooked hoiwumd, because our dreams have been taken, invaded, and divided like particles. Nampikatachu I ba'i I ma'i ka Iaka waka mas mama gahai. But some dreams stay alive in the realms beyond an hourglass. Haba hai gatachatak up goita amusko gam husi ibaichka orakaba. Time has been lost. The hopuhi. The hopohi, yet home, mountain, and wood remain, waiting for the return of lost particles. Ga'iag, gaki, tuak, kacha, hug is Nyonamat Opam Atahta Kahoi. Sunsets and sunrises remain beyond for unforeseen forces. The Hodanik Kachata Jaanik we is Imhupa ich Gahaichu Goketak Mopi up in Nuit. Health and hugs waiting for the presence of people. Apetakcha Kamadak Hanid Amat Ama Haichukat Gat Gahumachkam. With the dreams and the wings of the land, Wamgatachatak Ga'an Gachovid, memories will remain. Chehita Totak Atamawi. And so you'll see the photo, and I chose that photo because you'll see it has a piece of remains, and it has, it's called Suk-Chubak, the mountain behind it. And, you know, that's the mountain I was referring to, and a lot of the phrases I was making were in reference to that mountain, and feeling the presence of those elders that lived there and decided to remain there. And thanks to my mentors and my elders, I'm able to speak and be here, and I'm truly grateful for this opportunity. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Amber. And let's have one more round of applause for all three of our poets. Thank you. You're invited now. Instead of a traditional Q&A, what we're going to do is we'll reopen the library. You're welcome to come in and look around at the exhibit for about 30 minutes, but come back another time if you want more time. We do have some books for sale from the bookstore. Ophelia's Where Clouds Are Formed, and then also an anthology of autumn writing. So yeah, please enjoy the exhibit if you haven't, but thank you so much for being here tonight.